What's up, everyone? Burn1, Carmen, and Nico here.
What's up, guys?
We just wanted to bring you a RWBY deck profile. We've done a lot of testing, been through a lot of different builds, and I am pretty confident that 8-door is the best RWBY build by a country mile. It's not close. And we want to talk about why. Because it's been a lot of testing, a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussion, and I really, really don't think it's close. And I think a lot of people aren't looking at certain cards in lieu of other maybe shinier cards that don't work in the deck as well. So
yeah, I think they're drawn by like the really cool looking cards. Unfortunately, sometimes like the really cool cards aren't really that great in comparison to like other more boring standardish cards.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the story of this one. Just showing the deck list overall real quick first. We are playing 8-door as previously stated. That will be the TD RWBY level 1 that also goes with 1 Weiss, and then the Cinder 3-2. Whole deck list laid out here. Encore decks links in the description. If you're just here for the list, make sure to leave us a like on the way out. That really helps us out. Leave a comment or stuff like that.
Yeah, and as a disclaimer, because I know Dean might have comments for us, I'm sure Dean will do like a full set overview sometime later, and he might not necessarily agree, but me testing out quite a, I don't want to say large, but a decent amount of RWBY builds along with Carmen, I do kind of agree that this is probably my current go-to for the set.
And we've tested into English meta, both now and looking forward, things that are coming, things that like when events resume that you're likely to see when you go to an event if you're going to bring RWBY. And honestly, I think RWBY's like a really good pick for the English meta. It's definitely very strong. It does one thing extremely, extremely well, and this build capitalizes on that as much as it can. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the cards one by one. First one here, Neon Cat. I've talked about it a bit on PGH. It's probably come up on some of the streams. Neon Cat is an absolutely obnoxious card, especially into a Kaguya-dominated metagame. So when you go first, it's just a coin flip, but when you go second, you dunk your opponent's character if it's alone. So that really hates on K. That hates on any deck that's basically running an evasive card. Slime running a chaser.
I was like, Slime, I don't know if people still play Goblin Slayer, but it dunks on that. New Bang Dream, when that comes out, I think they have like a right field runner or something that they're going to play for plusing 0, so it also dunks on that. Just right now, pretty decent into the meta, like Carmen said.
I think the big
especially
thing
going second
that a lot of people don't think about when they're playing this is how well it plays into your on reverse combo at 1. If you're playing into a deck that has runners, people might try to like slow roll you. People might try to like deny you your combos and things like that. But if you just dunk them or force them to play multiple cards, probably alongside cards that aren't evasive, that feeds into your clean cut plays, your on reverse plays, things like that. You get to dictate the speed of the level 0 game, and if you finesse the card correctly, it can be extremely, extremely obnoxious. This is a card you read, you think about it, and you're like, might be good, might not be good. Just sleeve it up, play with it, and just watch every opponent you sit against just groan endlessly with how like annoying this card is. It has really insane implications for how the 0 game plays out.
I think it actually has like pretty crazy fringe uses, especially against decks like I would say Pan-Store Slime. There's been a couple games that I played to where this card like dunks a 1-0 Shizu, like the 1-0 Shizu they left on the board, which is pretty hilarious.
We play 4 because of the timing.
Absolutely.
It's only
I think
good.
I think you can get away with 3, but if you're playing 3, you're a greedy, like you're a greedy piece
it's really, really greasy. But if you do hate this card, you don't trust, you don't even want to try it, just play the TD runner. Don't let that stop you from trying this deck. Just play the TD runner. It's fine. It's not as well positioned, but if you hate it, just take all 4 out and throw 4 TD runner in, call it a day. If you don't like the card, I don't think it's a super make or break, but I do think the Neon Cat is really insane right now. Moving on to the rest of the deck. So clean cut, Yang. So it's a clean cut with even more utility because it reveals the top card of your deck. As long as it's character, you give 2k anywhere. You can give it to yourself and be a 3500 or give it to another character. We're really concerned about it as a power pump in this deck because this, with our level 1 combo, we can confirm like first lane reverses even against like god boarded standby decks where they had like a really insane opening. They're high rolling like crazy. They have multiple 1-1s. Maybe they unfortunately hit one first. They have a 2-2 or something like that. You can still kill their entire board with RWBY combo provided you have like a Yang. So that's the main reason it's in the deck. But you know, it has better synergy with Cat than you'd probably think because you know your opponent opens, they play a runner, you dunk the runner, toss back to hand. Your opponent's forced to maybe play another runner if they're lucky enough to have a second one, and then some other card that's static. And then if you're still at 0, you set up a tri-lane clean cut response to that, and then you're just off to the races. You can ride that pretty far in terms of how much gas you get off that play. So it has decent synergy there. And then the top of the deck information is always nice, end game side attacks, also all that good stuff. But it has really good synergy with our level 1, our level 2, and our finisher for just extra power.
One of the other things it can do for level 1 specifically, especially if you draw like multiple of your level 1 combo, saving like clean cutting one of your level 1 combos to use again the next turn, even as a beater, sometimes feels really, really good, considering the RWBY level 1 combo isn't like an on-play power. It just gets power on attack if you're playing the game, more or less.
And because that card combos at 2 as well with another card, you're even more incentivized to clean cut it if you're able to reuse it again later in the game. But yeah, really, really insane card. A lot of people are just maxing this out at 4, and I can't even blame them. The card's really insane. All right, moving on. We're playing the Amber because we're playing the Cinder top end. It's a super standard salvage Ricky. It does salvage anything, which is nice. It is 3k. It's also pretty nice. Also, the only block plus in RWBY that is in your main phase. Everything else is like weird. You have like battle phase or like on death and stuff like that. Obviously, you can make on death main phase if you want, but like then you're not plussing. So we do like have an opportunity cost for playing the Amber, however small they may be. We lose the 3-card mill from playing Ren, which is like, a pretty big hit to early game deck speed. Because we're also...
I actually don't think it is that much, honestly.
It's not too bad. I think compared to other lists that are playing like the Rize and stuff, people might think like you're losing a lot more deck speed than you probably are.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think the deck speed you lose is actually like that much. Your level 1 combo goes through your deck a lot. James Ironwood goes through your deck a pretty decent amount too. So I don't think you're losing that much deck speed, but
It also can't +2 like the Sun Wukong. I know I've seen a lot of lists online running around playing that. I don't think that's the play for the current meta, but neither here nor there. If you like that +2, that is something you're giving up. And then obviously if you're running this, you don't really want to run the RWBY package cards. I think that's an actual good reason to play the Amber, because I hate the RWBY package cards and the amount of space they take. But I think, and Nico I think agrees, that the payoff for choosing this and the Cinder package outweighs like all of these by like a considerable margin.
Yeah, I think I got off the Rize and like the bomb package like really, really quickly. It's like, although I think the trap is that package kind of reads nice on paper until you actually have to go into like deck building mode, and you have to like look at all the compromises you have to make to like justify running that package.
Exactly. All right, moving on. 2 of the James Ironwood. This is the best blue card in RWBY.
Oh god, this guy
might be one of the best cards in RWBY, period. It's a double ditch out. It gives us extra draws throughout the game to get into climaxes or events. It's like a pseudo selective salvage. Gives us top deck knowledge for free. Just a super, super insane card. I was previously running this at 3. I think a lot of people were like running a ton of it, but gotta cut down on slots, and unfortunately this goes down to 2. Since we are playing standby, it isn't as pivotal to be playing a ton of it, but it's still just such an insane card. It recycles our zeros. It gives us a ton of access to our low level like tech cards that we can keep adding them back. There's a lot of really nutty plays. We'll get into them when we get to those specific cards that can really shut down specific matchups. Just really like rocket you forward in those matchups. So we can talk about those when we get to those cards. But an important thing to note with the second effects is so long as you ditch a level 0 character, you can always take that character back. So it's just a free top check like floor. So something to think about, because you also don't have to do either effect. Unlike the Arisu and Dao, you're forced to top check at ditch. So both effects are optional. Moving forward, Nora Brainstorm, super standard salvage.
It's a brainstorm. Yep.
Yeah. The 500 rolling is actually pretty good for the deck. It does come up constantly because the way RWBY's power lines work, you are like slightly over. You're either completely over or you're like challenging and you're only a little bit over. So the extra 500 does come up quite a bit. And salvage, of course, like we want to recur climax combos. You can't have recurrence with search brainstorms, so salvage is preferable. Other brainstorms, speaking of search ones, 1 spammable Blake. I love cards like this. These are like 1 card outs to like bad games. If you trigger climaxes too far down, you're super out. You just need to get through your deck. They do that. It's good deck access because RWBY is kind of hard up for deck access when you don't play the Jean combo. So it's sort of like a game-saving 1 card out that also like shores up something that your deck otherwise doesn't do. Also, the buff's really good. She can buff herself. She can buff something else.
I think the buff is actually one of the reasons why you would consider running this card. The 1k power is actually pretty bonkers.
Yeah, especially because it's just every turn plus 1,000 anywhere. different. It's really nice. Other few level zeros here. Our deck access is poor, so we're just playing this drop searcher. It's a 3k drop searcher. You have 2 more other characters. The reason this is not the dog, we are not running the dog because the dog's deck access is random. We don't need extra mill because we're playing the TD combo, which checks 4 for every copy. And with 8 doors in Ironwood, you should not need on-demand access to Grave as much as you would in other decks. If you hit every single time on Zwei, then just go play Zwei. I can't tell you no. But if you respect math and normality, you probably just play this card. Zwei is a little bit too much randomness for me, but just doesn't do what the deck wants to do. Last level 0, RWBY Climax Swap. It's one of our only 2 Climax Assurance cards. Surveil is a nice bit of extra text. It's not as good as the top 2 rearrange ones that other set get, but it's pretty close. It doesn't overcommit you like just top check X cards can do, where you play it down and you just don't get anything and they warp your lines a lot. So just a nice little extra bit of bonus effect.
Yeah.
On to level 1, the star of the deck. This is the best shell in the set. I don't think it's close. I don't know if Nico, you feel the same.
I think this is definitely the way to go. With the current power lines and stuff that we have in English, this is 100% I think the way you should build the deck currently.
Yeah, so
the other stuff I don't think comes close. I know Dean was a big fan of the Weiss 1-0, and I can see reasons for liking that card, but I just don't think it's enough.
I think the idea of having a combo that pushes a standby and then tanks up on opponent's turn as well, so you're plussing and winning board is a very attractive idea. But I think RWBY just does the break it down, rebuild and break it down again strategy much better than it tries to vie for board in the early game, especially against a lot of the decks that exist now and into the future. We're talking about 8 standby Dow, 8 standby Slime, upcoming Mishoku. And the big reason, because this card starts at 7,500 alone. So its raw power line does challenge 1/1 standby targets. And if you have 3 and you cascade the effects, you can be up to 11/5 with no additional power pumps in your third lane, beating over 2/2s. And then when you combine it with other buffs that you have freely available, Clean Cut, Nora Brainstorm, 2/1 Cinder when you're at 2, it is laughably easy to break down boards at any point in the game. It's so free. People might be kind of sus on it. All I gotta say, just sleeve it up and run it into all the current English threats. We've done the math for you. The power lines check out. And then again, Nico brought it up, the on attack power condition and the fact that you have the 2/1 combo at later on that also combos with the same climax means that clean cutting this is a very desirable line if you have the opportunity to do it. So just a Minami, but a super solid card.
Oh yeah,
the way that it plays in.
I don't even want to call this just a Minami though. It's
yeah, it does so much work. This is definitely
carried. This is carried by a lot carried by the other cards in the set, and it has just kind of a lot of inherent synergy with a lot of the cards you want to run, Clean Cut and all that. Even spammable Brainstorm.
All right, let's get into the spice. Let's talk about our boy Nolan.
I can't believe, Carmen, that you initially told me this.
I was so sus, dude. I did not trust. This is the rudest little boy.
This down. Oh, dude, this card is so ignorant.
Yeah, okay. Just a couple. I put a couple examples here. So the most obvious use, right? It stops a 2/2 from ever coming to front row. Against Data Live specifically, the 1/1 Yoshino doesn't work, meaning that their board is free farm. Later on, after Hololive comes out, their level 0 Shion can't save their Rushia from your Adachi anymore. And then later in the game, in any matchup, it doesn't even have to be standby. Say your opponent's behind, they pre-filled their healing climax combo level 3s to their back row and try to sandbag you to get you into their kill range. You just stun them and they can never come to front row again. And you probably just lock out your opponent from there.
Yeah.
This card has many uses.
Yeah, I think the big deck, this card kind of shits on right now in the English meta is Kaguya. If they try to bring out the 2/2, what's the dude's name? Ishigami in the back row, you just say no. And then even then at level 3, if they try to pre-field, what Carmen said earlier, they hit a standby and they try to pre-field a Kaguya in the back row, you stun that and just say no. This guy is really ignorant. Not only that, against decks like Slime, it doesn't doesn't even just kind of like crap on Shizu. Like if you're playing into 8 standby, a lot of their kind of like what they like to do is they'll have the 1-0s in the front row with the 2-2 Geld in the back row. So this locks down like it can lock down the Geld, and you can bottom deck their Rimurus from there. And then they're more or less going to have to be like, dang, do I have to pay 3 just so I can move the Geld next turn, and I'm still going to lose my 1-0 after that? Like this card is actually in the current meta, this card is really ignorant.
Yeah, the card's nutty. I keep finding dumber and dumber plays to like do it with. Notably with like the Ironwood, like you're on a lot of like 1s and higher, so revealing like a 1 or higher and taking a Nolan back and playing another Nolan like multiple turns in a row, your opponent just tears their hair out. Yeah, they just can't execute their game plan. And then like, you know, the most absolute basic like small brain like use of the card, it locks down things for your on reverse combos or clean cuts. Like the most absolute basic, you know, you can't run, you can't chase, stuff like that. They can still pop back to hand or memory though. That's important. It's not like locked down like the Kurumi from Data Blood that came out. It's not the exact same line of tech. It's just similar. All right, last level 1 Adachi. Some things just really need off the board. Sometimes things just need to die. The extra pump is really good at level 2 as well for like fully removing someone's crap. If they've really like, you know, the early game didn't go too bad, like too good for you. You've fallen behind. You need to rebuild. You like play out your optimal level 2 board, being like, yeah, I'm back in this game, and then the extra 1500 gets you in there. Then you refill your hand with the combo. So has pretty good synergy with how your games play out. So we're on that 1 copy.
I think particularly this is like really good in this stuff like Data Live when they've already had like 2 2-2s out in the front row. You dunk one, they lose 1k, and then like your level 1 climax combo will get over the other. So yeah. This card's sick. I'll just go with this flavor text. This card's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. You know what it feels like when I play this? It feels like a mini version of like the Remy event bombs. Like the power plus the lane clear. Like the quote unquote win 2 lanes of an Adachi. Card feels really good to play.
Yeah.
Moving on to level 2, the 2-1 Weiss that also combos with the level 1 door. As if that level 1 door didn't put enough work already. So it's a 2500 drop assassin, and it gives that power anywhere. That doesn't sound like it matters until you realize how much it does matter with the way your opponent's board plays out. Like your opponent doesn't always have the perfect board. Like finding one quote unquote free reverse is pretty normal, even going into the later game. So being able to give that extra power to like call your shot on a bigger lane, especially with your Blake early play and your 2-1 Cinder support. So something that I find that happens a lot with this deck, like you're playing the Blake early play, which is a stock healer, so that's 2 cards. You're playing down the Cinder support, that's another card. You're playing down this 2-1 Weiss and the door, that's 5 cards. So like you play 5 cards and you answer board and you're like, huh, that like kind of feels kind of bad, right? But when you play it with the door, you just rip a whole new hand. It's like you expended nothing to do that play because it's a stock light play. It's 3 stock. It's like not a very big stock investment, but the hand investment is massive. But with like the combo and the 8 doors, it just doesn't even matter. You just play the whole thing out, rip a new hand, and tell your opponent like, go ahead, man. see if you can crack back again, because you already broke them down at 1, and then you're breaking them down again at 2. Really easy. And the other thing, having this card in the deck puts us at a like non-cringe threshold of blue, so we don't need to play any like weird bad cards to like make blue work better and be less cringe to field at 2.
And I think just to like restate this, especially if you find this card as you enter level 2 with the Blake early play, this is so good. Like this card is actually just I think RWBY has like some of these effects where like you read it and you're like, this is whatever. And I think this card is initially like that, but when you have like the whole picture together is where it like really shines.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
And the thing with this, I think this plus the 2-1 Cinder support plus the Blake early play, right? I think that is a better mid game than any amount of standby, even 8 standby, even the Pyrrha stuff can put up. I think it's a more effective game plan both on your turn and off turn, because the Blake's 13k. It's just so much better than playing standby. But because all the standby stuff is very shiny and unique, people haven't like moved off it yet. Like they haven't stopped vetting it yet. They're not looking at this stuff as closely.
I think the standby stuff in the set is really bad, and I will challenge anybody, if you can win an event or whatever, like a real event, like a bro or a regional with standby, and prove me wrong, please do. But to me, the standby stuff all looks really bad.
Well, and there's something to be said there too.
Like what do you mean?
Well, there's something to be said there too. People are playing the standby RWBY, and they're not playing any other standby support cards because I think somewhere deep down,
the trigger.
Yeah, it's like deep down they realize the trigger is bad for the deck. It's not doing anything, but they want to play the RWBY because it does have some benefits like over other cards. But we'll get into that. So moving on, the 2/1 Cinder support. This is the main reason we're playing the Cinder package because you can play this as we've seen on a lot of other different channels. I know Restless Collectibles actually has a ton of lists out there right now that use the Cinder package with other top ends like the Yang, like the Blake, stuff like that. So you can splash it in, but it's just the best level 2 support in the set. There are no other 2K to fronts. The 1500, when you play it, like, it goes anywhere. And the most important part about it is when you just play this package, you don't eat up your deck with subpar cards. Like, you play 5 cards, all of which are good, 3 Rickies, and 2 good level, like 2/1 supports. And with that line, I've never whiffed it. I've had 4 turn games where I get this. It's unwhiffable at that line. Like, you could probably greed it down even more if you wanted to. If you wanted to be a greedy goose and
I don't think
be as greedy as possible. But
I'll be the one here to say I don't think you can greed it down. I think 3/2 is actually like the amount you have to run it at.
And like, dude, everyone loves that on reverse Rize, but I'm sorry, on reverse Rizes aren't good. The timing's not good. Even though, like, if the best thing you can say about your card
is it deletes itself from your deck.
Yeah, like that, and so it's not a liability to draw later. Why are you like instantly slamming 4 of that card in your deck? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Carmen, like, I think you and I have probably experienced the on reverse Rize thing too much with Summer Pockets. So a lot they don't know it yet. Like the card in some sets can be a necessary evil when you don't have good access to like combos that mill you or other mill tools. But RWBY does have those tools, so there's no reason to be playing the card. 2 to 3 additional memory at best is not going to win you games. I can guarantee it. Because imagine all those games you sit down against like Sao, if you're an English only player, where they put down the Asana and they kick a couple cards. They get it early even. Like, has that ever mattered? Them quote unquote memory compressing you? No. Like, it's just not a good argument. Like, I think people need to move off of it. Like, you need to acknowledge that on reverse is a terrible timing. No matter your personal preference, just not worth it playing. But yeah, let's just move on. I think I could rant about that for way too long. Before anything though, I think the worst part about the on reverse Rize is I guess the best way to say it is you're baited into playing other cards that aren't as amazing either, like the 1/0 Suicider and stuff. So the 1/0
Suicider is good when you're playing a lot of standby stuff, but as we said, there's not a lot of payoff for playing a lot of standby stuff.
So here's the thing though, I don't even agree with that though, because like it's a 1/0 Suicider, so you're inherently like losing board with that card, which standby doesn't really want to do. So that's kind of like where I'm shrugging to where I don't really see it. It's like it looks good, but I think it's like anti-synergistic, I guess would be like the best word I can like use to describe
it doesn't like jive with the game plan as much as it should. All right, last level 2 card here, free fresh counter. It's a panic button. We're playing 8 doors. In those games where you trigger 3 doors, you will be very happy that this card is in your grave, and it gives you a chance to win a game you would otherwise never be able to win. This could very easily be memory kick or anti-change. Pick whatever you want based on your local meta or what you expect to see or what you want to hate on the most. It's completely up to you, but I think when you're playing 8 salvage triggers, having defensive options like this is just really, really good. So I've played 4 doors and done the exact same thinking, and it does win you games. So pretty simple on that one. Moving on to level, I guess not. One last level 2. I guess this is a level 3 card. This is the biggest reason that we're not playing the RWBY combo. You gotta remember this about the RWBY combo. The RWBY combo doesn't attack. It doesn't matter that she's overstated. It doesn't matter that she's cheap because the Pyrrha goes to memory for free when she shouldn't by like Bushi math. That doesn't matter when you can't follow it up with anything because you have no resources. And you can hit me with the, just stand by a RWBY. We'll just do this. We'll just do that. But like, you're saying just do that. Like, you got to hit a high roll situation already. And then 3 burns for 3 plus 3 clock kicks is never killing anyone anyway. Because you're not Konosuba. You're not like bricking your opponent's deck beforehand. You're not like doing some sort of crazy finisher. It's a very middling finisher when you think about it by the numbers.
It does look good on paper though. It like the finisher looks nice, which is where I think like a lot of our big arguments are coming from. The finisher initially looks appealing, but not appealing. But like Armin was saying, unlike Konosuba, this deck doesn't really have a lot of really great decompression tools. Like one of your best decompression tools, or one of your only decompression tools, is Salem, and Salem is not that amazing.
So yeah, Cinder, because she attacks while having the same expected expected damage output as RWBY means that for the drawback of having to quote unquote interact with our opponent, we get to more easily play anti-damage, and that is going to win you more games overall than the RWBY dodging combat will. I can almost guarantee it. Also, Cinder is a lot bigger, so the plus 1500 power bonus text that we get for this being a full field money counter is pretty important. And then also the Cinder's bigger size does help us have full board more often, so that we don't get screwed out of being able to play this card at all. But yeah, money counter is like probably one of the best things you can be doing in RWBY, so you should build your deck to support that. On to level 3s. First, we're going to talk about the Blake. It's literally Mashu. Yeah, it is a totally fine early play. It's a 2 or less 11k and a stock heal, or heal to stock. Jeez, can't talk. But yeah, the card's like just fine. I mean, like heal to stock early plays, regardless of what you think about them. This one really combines very well with the 2-1 Cinder. So you're going to be a 13k cross. You can swing in at 14-5 with the pump from the 2-1. You have the combo down your 15-5. You can give the power from the Weiss. You can just be like 17k, like whatever. Do whatever you want. Like it's a better mid game than any amount of standby, both on your turn and off turn, which is really jarring. Like I just went into the TD stuff, like the TD package and whatnot, because I consider this the level 2 game part of the TD package. I was like, oh, well, like we'll see how it works, and it's a consistent like overperformer both on and off turn. So I'm just like not like sold on ever playing like the standby stuff, because this stuff is just so much better. And we already talked about the hand cost thing. Like if you're worried about like ditching hand or stuff like that, like already it doesn't matter much because we're on 8 doors, but then you also have the wombo combo with double 2-1 and the this. You have the 2-1 back row, the 2-1 Weiss, and then this card, and you just rip a whole new hand.
I think the 2-1 Weiss is what really makes this card shine. Just because like this card will kill like a big body on your opponent's field with the 2-1 Weiss, and the 2-1 Weiss, if for whatever reason you like, yeah, I can't really explain it too well, but this will rip you an entire new hand with the comboing with the 2-1 Weiss, to where this can run over something like really obnoxious, and then the 2-1 Weiss can snipe potentially something lower if you can find that reverse.
You can easily kill Shirogane with this in this set. Like just not even an issue. Don't even think about it.
14-5. So yeah, like yeah. So if
one other pump, yeah.
And it'll be 17k with the 2-1 Weiss, and then you can potentially the 2-1 Weiss will find one other lane to kill with Kaguya, because hardly ever you're gonna
whole board.
Yeah, I was like, hardly ever will Kaguya's full board be like the massive wall, unless they're
not until they're
beyond
at 3.
high rolling you.
Yeah, but yeah, card is super good, and RWBY is pretty lacking in the healer department overall as a set. So let's talk about that right now. Big reason we're playing Cinder. Why aren't we playing the Blake Mocha? Why aren't we playing the Yang, the Cancel Burn top checks 3, the Mocha top checks 5? You can move climaxes down. You can move the climaxes down with the Mocha if you're a sack. If you see one, you just keep moving it. You're like, yeah, that's sick. But the thing that you don't realize is you just cut 4 healers out of your deck.
Yeah.
Because you're not playing the RWBY. You're not playing that. And you're like, oh, like the Mocha, it cancels. It's like a heal, right? But like that's not going to happen every game. Also, the extra 1,000 power when you do the math, when you sit down and you play it out for Dal and Kaguya specifically, it's a relevant power threshold. And just the extra power in general when you plan to play money counter is really important for like ensuring you will make it as hard as possible for your opponent to cheat a lane out and deny you from being able to play money. But yeah, we just go from 3 healers only with the Blake up to 7, which for a defensive minded deck is really important. And again, we already talked about why aren't we playing the RWBY combo. It's a smaller card package. We don't have to play cards that we do not like and we do not think are good and do not have good synergy with the deck. It has the same expected damage output. It actually has better expected damage output, because you swing in for 3, you burn the 1, and then you top deck your opponent's card, so it does hard remove cards from your opponent's field as well, if you can manage to beat over them, which you easily will with the amount of pumps we've talked about. It attacks, generates stock for money counter, so as long as you attack 3 times, even if you tap all the way completely out to play your level 3 board, you will be able to play money counter. Good assurance. We talked about this before, but the standby trigger does nothing for the deck. That's just unfortunately how it is. It's not doing a lot. The most successful RWBY builds that I've both played and observed being played run almost no standby synergy cards. They just run the RWBY because they want to play the RWBY finisher. So if the standby trigger's not doing anything, there's not a lot of reason to play it. And dodging the battle step isn't a big deal right now. Like right now, when we release this video. It might be better after Hololive comes out and Rushi has like this big threat and they have tap counter and they're doing a bunch of like interaction with you to like ensure that they can untap and shuffle a bunch of cards back. But I don't even think that's enough to make RWBY the play after the fact. I think you're forgetting something though, because I think we're also going to be getting Mushoku Tensei around the same time. Oh, that also has tap counter in the same way.
So I think this might get phased out once both of those sets comes out, but it might not even just because the walls this deck establishes are pretty nice at level 3, and they would have to try to tap counter really early.
You can break down like whatever you want with RWBY. So if your opponent's playing standby, they're already probably having a bad time. The choice decks probably have a better hand set threatening tap counter on you if we're talking about Mashoko than 8 standby will. But yeah, those are like the brief reasons for the Cinder. The Cinder herself is just an 11k healer with the Goblin Slayer finisher effect. It's like not anything super remarkable, but cards don't have to be super remarkable to be extremely effective towards what you want to do.
Yeah. One of the other things, and I think we'll probably get to it when we get to that card, is it also has pretty decent, like, if you don't need the stock for something like a money counter, like if you're a 3-0 and your opponent can't present enough to kill you, they try to just kind of like crash it out. You can play down one of our other tech cards we're going to have down the line and just find reverses with this card anyway, and grab your combo or grab your climax while you're at it. So
yeah, you have
this card puts in a lot of work.
It like benefits from that Neo that Nico was just talking about in the same way that the RWBY does, like almost exactly the same level of benefit, probably more because you're attacking, but you have even more like weird stuff you can do. Other level 3s, Nico mentioned it briefly, it's the Salem. We have to play it because we have to play Decompression and we have to play Stock Swap, because without it our opponent makes a mountain of stock and then we just can't do anything. The great part about Salem though is if your opponent starts playing around Stock Swap, starts paying outs or starts doing plays so that they're like over a new deck, then we can use the Icy Tail effect. So it's not a dead card in our hand anyway, and it's also another 11k. It's just an 11k for no reason, so it doesn't even hurt us to like play this down, and it's like a liability to get backupped over, like if you were just playing like a Stock Swap that was just 9-5. So it's not even a liability that way. So pretty good synergy with the deck.
I think the main phase Icy Tail also is really good because I don't know about you, I like to like reevaluate a lot of the times like what happens after I do a lot of these effects, and the fact that you can main phase Icy Tail, depending on what you hit with it, you can kind of like change your play going forward is really
you're like, oh, I whiffed, that sucks, but like now I have other things I can do. So it does give you that ability to react. The main phase is very nice. Next level 3, I want to talk a bit about this one. This is the RWBY Vital Festival. I think this is the best off finisher in the set. I don't think it's close. I don't know why you people are all playing the Weiss. The Weiss restander is really, really bad. It doesn't synergize to anything except the gang. It synergizes with the gang. But even
I was like that's all I was going to say. I was like, if they play it with a yang, it 100% makes sense.
Even if I played the gang, Nico, I'm gonna be honest, I would play this card instead. Because I do think this card is just straight up better. Because on play, selective salvage gets you whatever you need, lets you toolbox your endgame plays. It's a functional X+1 copy of other cards, especially our tech cards. And the burn effect is not only at the end of your attack, so you can choose whether or not you should do it. So if you swing with this last, if the burn for 2 will kill your opponent, you can choose to go for it if you think that burn will stick. And if you don't, you can protect this card, you can hold it, you can put it in front of your 2-1, and you can burn them next turn, because the effect is not limited to the turn that it's played to the board. This is an off finisher that you can play down, cantrip, and then maybe it's good for you, maybe it's not. Maybe if they're not going to kill them, you just sit behind your money counter, and then the next turn, even if you have no stock, as long as you protected this card, you get another extra burn. You get another instance to like squeeze out game, and your opponent can't just like try cancel sack you. The card is like super good. I think it reads very, very boring. It's not a very interesting card to read, but in practice, I think this card's super nuts.
Okay, so to be fair though, I think that's the entire deck. I think the entire deck for the most part reads really boring, but once you like mash it all together is where it becomes really, really good.
But yeah, I'm just a big fan of this card in general. I think not enough people are looking at it.
I think in this deck specifically, and I think in almost everything with the exception of the Yang finisher, because I will say I would prefer the Weiss restand with the Yang finisher still. But I think in almost everything else, if you're gonna if you're gonna slot in other auxiliary level 3s, this is absolutely the way to go.
All right, last level 3, the Neapolitan. On play, pay 1.
Grab the
climax
foil
salvage.
of this card. This art is terrible.
Yeah, the art's bad, but the foil also went up a lot because someone bought them out on TCG Player. So good luck finding it. On play, pay 1, salvage a climax. So get to our climax for our finisher, and then we can discard any character to spawn any 2 characters from our opponent's waiting room to stage. So it's good for setting up Cinder reverses. Our opponent tries to crash out and deny it if they're trying to like, oh, well, like I really need to live. Like I gotta hope they overswing and hope I cancel. It stops your opponent from being able to make that play. It's also useful for 2-turning. If like you go to level 3 early, your opponent left you stuff, you play down your Cinders, you get some reverses, you burn a little bit, your opponent lives, and then you're like, oh, well, like, okay, I have money counter, my Cinders are really fat, I can probably defend them, and then you untap. If you didn't need to play money counter, you play this down, you get your climax back and you go again. And you can, if you one board with your cinders, you don't even get hurt. You pull out 2 targets for it again. You can also summon 1s and 2s for like weird side attacks, but that's probably never going to happen with the way the deck works.
It's like a super fringe play.
Super fringe play, but it is a thing people keep bringing up with the cards, so I wanted to mention it. But this is a flex spot. There are other cards that you can play. All the cards that I've at least considered. I know Nico is playing some of them right now. Is the Winter Schnee, which is a level 2 killer. The Jacques Schnee, which is a memory kick counter. The James Half Cyborg is like a bouncer and lets you rearrange your top 3. So it's a defensive card if you have like things that you need to bounce in your local meta or things you expect that you need to get off the board in main phase. And then you can also play the Nora, which is like a Shirogane type effect. It's just an anti-backup fat card, which I don't think you need in a deck like this, but it is an option.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think the Nora is like almost ever played in any meta that I currently see, but I mean, you can still win it.
You get big enough, but this is like the flex spot, I think, at least in the list that I have here. So here's the list all laid out again. This has been quite a long video because I really wanted to dig into it, and I know Nico did too. I just wanted to really get this out there because, again, I think it's not the flashiest deck, but for all the testing I've done, especially like into the English meta specifically, as it is now and as it will be, I do not think there is a more effective deck than this right now. The 8-door shell is way too effective. It hates on too much while also being just a good deck in its own right. This isn't like some sort of directed strategy where you sit down against, you know, the random round 2, 1 through 3 garbage that someone's playing and feel like, oh no, my deck is like randomly losing to some random thing that's not in the meta. Like, it's still a completely rock solid deck on its own that also bodies on the meta pretty hard right now. It's beating overboard. Anything else you want to say before we close it out here, Nico?
This deck is really sick. Not really. I guess I shouldn't say sick. The best way to describe this is this deck is extremely boring, but it plays really, really, really well. I think while everybody was initially trying to test like the cool shiny stuff, I know I like sleeved up initially bar choice, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna sleeve the boring stuff, and I actually found it pretty all right because the boring stuff turned out to be really, really good. And this is just like the final evolution, I think, of a lot of the boring stuff, because this deck is not very interesting for the most part, because you're moving away from a lot of like the really shiny cards the set has, but it's, I think, extremely good into the current meta, and I think it'll still be fine going forward, even when like Mushoku and Hololive drops, but I do think it'll probably lose a little bit of that sparkle.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. All right, closing it up here, normal stuff. Don't normally have this slide on this channel, but I will always do it on all the videos that I help make or make. So Card Games Competitive White Schwartz Discord. You can go out there, check those out. Burn1 Kit actually is the admin of the Competitive White Schwartz Discord, now just called White Schwartz TCG. That's probably like the best hub for like new players if you're just jumping into the game. So definitely check that out. White Schwartz Global, White Schwartz NA, if you're looking to buy, sell, trade Weiss or get updates on like new things coming out in Japanese, definitely check those out. And then Weiss Fight, you want to try RWBY, can't get your hands on cards yet, you want to just, you know, jump in there and give it a look. You hop on Encore Decks, use the link from the description, grab the deck, go on Weiss Fight, type it in, plug it in, and then you're just playing online in your browser with people from all over the world, and give that a look. Dev is really responsive to feedback, so if you want to make it better, you can join the Discord. There's also a Patreon where you can subscribe and help out the app make it better in the future. And with that, I think we are done. Nico, we have any upcoming stuff? I know Kit's been making a lot of stuff lately.
I think the only thing that we have coming up is I don't know if we're going to be doing anything for Bro or like after Bro in regards to like deck profiles and stuff, but you can maybe see something for that. Other than that, I don't believe we have anything else immediately.
All right. Well, with that, Burn1 signing off. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Take care.